Right then, welcome back everyone. Now I think it's fair to say the DCEU has had its fair share of ups and downs over the years.
Like a river. It comes and goes.
What are those? We're letting him kill Martha.
Okay, maybe mostly downs. That's not to say there isn't any positives to take though, because there are. Henry Cavill as Superman is probably the most perfect casting of all time. It's like he's been created in a lab for fuck's sake. Look at him with his sculpted face, chiseled abs and perfect hair. I'm not jealous at all in the slightest whatsoever.
So that was a fucking lie.
Also, the first Wonder Woman film, that was great. Especially the costume design department, they really nailed it.
Disgusting!
But in all seriousness, it was actually an excellent film. It just seems that whenever they make progress, they're immediately blindsided by some huge scandal. From the whole Justice Society Snyder Cut battle, to having one of their main actors in their most anticipated upcoming film literally going around the country abducting children. They just can't catch a break. DC have such a great roster of characters, it's such a shame they haven't been used to their full potential. However, with the way the MCU is going at the moment... What the fuck is that? There's certainly room for a new cinematic universe to take the spotlight. And with The Rock joining them in their most recent film, currently in cinemas, maybe it's time to ask, is Black Adam the saviour of the DCEU? Alright, let's actually talk about the film. It's really hard to describe the plot without sounding ridiculous, but I'll give it my best shot. 5,000 years ago, Black Adam was chosen by wizards to be bestowed with godlike powers in order to fight an oppressive king that was ruling his homeland, Kahndaq, at the time. The king had enslaved his people in order to mine for this crystal, Eternium, that conveniently can only be found in Kahndaq, in order to build a crown that will enable him to harness the powers of a demon. In the ensuing battle, Black Adam defeats the king, mysteriously disappears, and is never heard from again. Flash forward 5,000 years, we're in modern day Kahndaq, which is still being oppressed, but this time by a military force. Black Adam is reawakened and has to try and prevent the crown from falling into the wrong hands for a second time, whilst also contending with the Justice League of America, who aren't too keen on his unique brand of justice. To be honest, I really enjoyed the film. Yeah, fine, the story isn't groundbreaking, but I don't think it needs to be. I know the MCU has set a pretty high standard with this complex interlinking story between films, but I think for an introductory film for Black Adam, this works perfectly. It even had a few twists and turns at the end that I didn't expect. I do love superhero-y films, so I understand I am a bit biased, but that doesn't mean I think every superhero film I've ever seen is great, because that is far from the truth. I love the inclusion of the other characters from the Justice Society, especially Dr. Fate. He's like Doctor Strange if Doctor Strange was actually useful. He was by far the best of the bunch, and I really hope they give him his own film. The effects were, as expected, excellent. The film really was a visual spectacle. I know when people say a film was fun with great action, that's code for the film was shit. But I genuinely believe this film is worth a watch. If seeing The Rock's face superimposed on a skinny body isn't a big enough draw for you, I don't know what is. Let's just get one thing straight though. That is not to say there wasn't anything wrong with the film, because there was. I'm not going to go into the acting performances because let's be honest, no one's winning Oscars here. The dialogue in the whole film was pretty bad. The Rock basically just said one-liners for 2 hours, and of course we had to have the classic, "We need a new name for you, what should we call you?" And then dramatic cut to title scene. I don't even know how Black Adam knew how to speak English.
It seems like you have a little problem understanding the English language.
He was entombed for 5,000 years, knowing only Kandaki or whatever it would be.
Ding bong ding dong, he's Stone Cold Aye.
Also that weird Western standoff scene was just completely unnecessary. I don't really even know how it made the final cut. I also would have really liked a bit more backstory on Hawkman and Dr. Fate. You know, like how they got their powers, how they met, etc. They were sort of just shoehorned in there, really. The other two I weren't really bothered about, they were pretty irrelevant, to be honest. I've only got one sweaty nerd comment, and that is about his speed. Like most other superheroes that have super speed, it's just so inconsistent and it makes me want to cry. If he can travel 15 meters across a room by the time a bullet has traveled 20 centimeters or whatever, then there's absolutely no chance he couldn't catch those flying bikes instantly. There's just no chance. Sorry, deep breaths, I'm calm.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal.
And lastly, the lack of a bad guy, quote unquote, was a bit upsetting. I get Black Adam is like an anti-hero or whatever, but the devil dude at the end really just didn't cut it for me. And so after all that, to answer my original question, is Black Adam the saviour of the DCEU? No, I don't think so. But It's certainly a step in the right direction. If they keep adding interesting characters like the ones in these films, establish them properly and create a good overarching story, I don't see why it couldn't be challenging the MCU, especially considering that end cutscene. I cannot wait to see what they have in store. And there we have it, just my thoughts on Black Adam and his place in the DCEU. Let's be honest though, he's got nothing on Batman, has he? If you agree with me, why not check out this other video I made, where I discuss Robert Pattinson's recent portrayal of Batman, along with all of his other films for that matter.